Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Basement. Thank you for joining me. Today I have a video for you about pure gold mining and a special treat. This will be all done through PowerPoint, so you do not have to look at my face. Pure gold mining, I believe, has kind of exhausted a lot of us and a lot of you over the last 3 or 4 months. The stock price has really been hit. All of this revolves around this Q1, or a lot of it revolves around this Q1 production report that came out that showed lower grade ore being processed than I think a lot of investors had anticipated. So I'm going to kind of dig in and give you my thoughts on what went on and why I think there may have been a market overreaction to the news that came out. And before we go on, I just want to mention this is not investment advice, just my thoughts on the company. I do this as for fun, as a hobby, and I hope possibly you can glean a few nuggets of good information from my presentation. So let's compare Q1, the disaster quarter, to the current Q2 and moving forward. So when you look at Q2 as compared to Q1, they will have access to much more ore. They'll be working with 2 shafts versus 1 and 12 stopes versus 2. That will give them much more mining flexibility and the ability to get to much more ore. And that, as a result of that, they will not have to run stockpiled low-grade material like they had to do during Q1 when they were proving out their mill. Point number 2, in Q2 as compared to Q1, they will have access to much higher grade ore. That's important. And it was publicly stated that they'll be starting to reach more of the quote-unquote heart of the resource. Number 3, overbreak, or the dilution of the ore. In Q2, as compared to Q1, has already been corrected. The CEO publicly stated in one article that I read that they'd reduced overbreak from the mid 30% down to 11 or 12%. Number 4, the odds of hitting more non-mineralized dikes, because in Q1 they hit a dike, which I think is just like a zone that doesn't have any minerals in it, any gold, anything like that. The odds of that happening again are very slim and more easily managed with their increased mining flexibility with the additional shaft and different areas where they can mine. And they had accounted for and expected that they would hit some dikes over the years. It was referred to as being very unlucky that they hit it so soon, or they hit one so soon in the mining process. And number 5, the mill has been proven. So in Q1, they were really working on proving up the mill, which they did. And it's been tweaked, and it can handle a greater volume of high-grade ore. So when you look at Q2 going forward as compared to Q1, they're going to have access to more ore. It's going to be higher grade ore, and there's going to be much less dilution. So that right there is a confluence of 3 things that were negative in Q1 that are going to turn into positives in Q2. Q1, was it a normal bump in the road for a new mine? Don't forget that in Q1, Pure Gold was still in ramp-up mode. Everybody seems to forget that. Like, you know, this company had great success, by the way, during 2020, building a mine, doing first gold pour. They do a lot of promotion, but still, they had a really, really good 2020. But they didn't they just poured their first gold in December. So this Q1 of 2021 was really like their first quarter of trying to, learn this mine and learn the most efficient ways to mine things. So they're still in ramp-up mode. They've yet to announce commercial production. Darren had publicly stated in mid-2020 that the early days of the mine would be in lower grade areas. That was on a town hall meeting on YouTube. You can watch, search for it. But he said the early days of the mine were going to be in a little bit lower grade areas. They had very little mining flexibility in Q1 with one ramp, and they were still cutting their teeth in regards to mining methods, which created that overbreak issue. And much of the focus was on proving up the mill, so they ran some lower grade stockpiled material. Conclusion. All of the above information was compiled from publicly available sources. The March 31st press release from the company where they announced this disappointing production and grade numbers for Q1. There's a lot of information in there. There's an article, a brief interview, print article, I believe it's a mining journal, where Darren talked about the overbreak issue and the dike issue. And there's a great audio interview on what I believe is the KE report from April 26th, where he discusses some of the other things, that went on during Q1 versus Q2. So the market treated Q1 like an utter disaster. But if management delivers on everything that they've said in the last 5 or 6 weeks, Q1 will be looked back upon as a normal bump in the road that almost all mines experience during ramp-up phase. But if not, and solid improvement in grade and production are absent in Q2, then Darren and his team and the stock price may very well find themselves in hot water. My money's on the former. I believe that Pure Gold is just dealing with normal early days teething issues and a dash of bad luck in Q1. Yes, so I think that as we move forward in Q2, Q3, Q4, 2021, we are going to see solid improvement from the company. I love when there's a confluence of factors that were negatives that can be turned into positives. And that's the case right now. We're in that sweet spot with Pure Gold Mining. They're going to have access to much more ore, okay? So they're not going to have to run, this stockpiled bad material, okay? They're going to have access to much more ore going forward. They're going to have access to higher grade ore going forward, okay? They're not going to be overbreaking and diluting the ore. So there's like 3 really cool factors that, most likely, based on what we've been told, are being corrected or have already been corrected and are going to come together to create higher production numbers in terms of volume and grade. And you got to be able to kind of see the forest through the trees to see that this very well may be the case. Now, if there's no guarantees, if this isn't true, what we've been told, and things don't turn out well, then it's time to jump ship. But at this point, especially in these early days, that was their first quarter trying to produce gold. And it wasn't like a total utter disaster, and there's really great explanations as to why the grade was such an issue. I just think that going forward, there's going to be much improvement, and hopefully for the stockholders, especially the guys that bought at higher levels, much improvement in the stock price as well. I've had situations like this before with other companies where they're kind of, got this like kind of really cruddy treatment from the market. But if you dug in and you looked at all the factors, things, when a company can turn negatives into positives, Jimmy Rogers talks about that. When you can get negatives that are going to be turned into positives, that's like a real sweet spot for investing. And I don't think a lot of investors these days really, I don't know, I don't say anybody's lazy, but they don't take the time to dig in and kind of look at what's going on. They just look at the headline. Oh, Pure Gold Mining, their grade was horrible, and everybody had such high expectations on this company, and they don't, they don't take the time, or maybe they don't have the intellectual horsepower to be able to do it, to dig in and say, okay, why was the grade low, and what's being done about it going forward. And I think if you do that, and if we are being fed, honest information from the company, that this is really a great opportunity right now. Let's move on to the final slide. Bonus material. Who doesn't like bonus material? So there are some, potential upcoming catalyst news items for the company. Number one, declaration of commercial production. At that point, we'll know, and we'll get a better view of what they, how the company's doing, how the mine is doing, and where that's supposed to occur second quarter of 2021. So any time now, really. Shortly after that, we should get issuance of 2021 production guidance. Again, that will also provide us with probably even a better view of, kind of what they think they can do here over the next 7 months or so, and to what extent those 3 issues that I've repeated about 15 times have been addressed. Are they getting access to more ore? Are they getting access to higher grade ore? And have they corrected the overbreak dilution issue? The dike thing, we're going to give them a pass on that one, okay? But if they hit a dike every quarter, then we're going to have to talk more about that. Another potential catalyst is the update of the resource estimate, which should come out in, I believe, the second half of 2021. Nobody's talking about this, but it's going to include 400 new drill holes, and this is the potential real kicker, possibly they're going to calculate this at a lower cutoff grade. So there's potential for their resource estimate to really go up significantly. Again, 400 new holes, and they may be kind of lowering the bar in terms of what the cutoff is for an ounce to be put into the resource. So I think that could be a great potential positive catalyst. And then number 4, which is probably one of the biggest potential catalysts that I'm not going to go on and on about, because there's tons of much more professionally prepared material available, so you can do your own research on this, but they're doing extensive drilling and exploration. So, they're doing it kind of on the near term in terms of their where they're going to be mining in the next 6 months or so, but they're doing exploration on their whole land package. And, there's this thing called the 8 zone, which I won't even go into, but there's like potential that they could find some really big things with their exploration and drilling program. So thanks for listening. There you have it, folks. Like I said, I've got some stock in this company through my retirement account. My average cost is $1.11. I know a lot of you are in at much higher levels. If what they're telling us is true, odds are that we're going to see some great improvement going forward. And I do think that maybe what happened in Q1, maybe kind of rattled the cages a little bit of maybe Darren and some of the management team. Like, hey guys, either you need to communicate better to us, or the market sent a strong message in terms of about a 50% stock price decrease to the managers at Pure Gold Mining, and I think they're doing a fine job. I will say that if some of the information that they shared over the last 6 weeks doesn't come to fruition in regards to getting more ore that's higher grade and less dilution, I won't be too happy. So thanks for listening. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.